Happy New Year, and welcome to another episode of the Well Played Cricket Podcast. Um, your guy Shady here with my guy Duty wearing his Ceylon zip up.
Yep,
How's it
yep.
going, my guy?
Just chilling, man. Just honestly dealing with a shitty weather day today. So
I
good day
think,
to make a podcast.
yeah, exactly. We just decided to jump on like an hour ago when we're like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing. You? Nothing. Let's do an episode. All right, cool.
Yeah, bit of
Perfect.
things have happened in cricket so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've been meaning to get together, but obviously during the holidays, I'm super busy and New Year's and stuff like that, and it's just a good time to chill out, man. So, um, in terms of holiday time, like what did you get up to? Anything interesting, bro?
No, man. I just kicked up, chilled out, eat some pepper pot, as Guyanese people do. Um,
Oh, you know what, man? I forgot totally. Like, you just mentioned Guyanese. Like, I just got like maybe half an hour ago some really sad news, man.
I know what you're
Um,
talking about. Yeah,
yeah,
continue. Go ahead.
yeah.
I was gonna bring it up, but yeah, go
So
ahead.
yeah, no. So um, Lil Chats is how I know him. He's a member of the Chattagoon family. His brothers Seunarine and Hemnarine, and his name is
Harnarine.
Harnarine.
Yeah,
Um, he sadly passed away in an accident.
yeah.
Um, and I heard from Zubin, who, by the way, is our special guest on today's episode, Zubin Surkari. But yeah, he had just messaged me and let me know that. And then I sort of saw on my Instagram, I saw through Helliger's story and photos and whatever. And so kind of really sad the guy passed away. So I said, which one? And he's like, and then to come to know that it was the younger one,
Mhm.
um, just really sad, man. So, condolences, thoughts, prayers going out to the Chattagoon family, an unbelievable cricket family. All really nice, humble guys. I really enjoyed playing my cricket against them, and just thoughts going out to them and their family right now.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. They're a big part of the Cavaliers family as well. So I grew up playing my youth cricket through them, and yeah, they're always around and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, so that's how it goes. As for me,
what'd you
sort
get
of
up to?
January.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I always watch the hockey, the World Junior Tournament. Um, so I'm always sort of, and I'm like, since I was like 5 years old, this is what I do, starting on Boxing Day. So I'm always sort of watching the hockey, the World Junior Tournament, and Canada got ousted in the quarterfinals. They did not look very good this year at all. USA won the whole thing, and I thought they were the stacked team. And well, just to put it out there, like if Canada had all their players, like they have five guys who are playing in the NHL, so they weren't able to play in the tournament. So if they did, I'm pretty sure they would have dominated. But USA won that one, and it's just like a tradition for me during this time, from Boxing Day to sort of just after New Year's is that junior tournament, and it's funny. Like I'm mentioning, studying and always watching the World Junior, so you can kind of see the next prospects that are going to come up in the NHL and how that system works in hockey in Canada, where it's the main sport. So like millions of kids in Canada play hockey and try to come up and whatever. And the reason why I'm kind of going into the segue, and you're gonna like it, dudes, is like the Cricket Canada selections.
Mm.
So I'm sure people are expecting us to talk about it. I want to talk about it. There's a lot of juniors in there, and that leaves a lot of room for um, controversy, a lot of questions to ask the selectors, the coach, as to what
The
what
thought
warrants.
process? Yeah.
Yeah, like the thought process. Like, okay, obviously, right off the bat, you're like, okay, youth, great. You want to groom youth and try to get them some experience. Amazing. I feel like they could have they already had that opportunity in the summer where they did not qualify for the under 19 World Cup, which is going on right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think, playing against USA and Argentina and stuff like that, big difference, right? So the results you're getting against Argentina, amazing. Like nobody really is going to consider that. But against the USA, Canada lost both games. So
Yeah, yeah,
they lost the group game and they lost the second game as well.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Kind of sealed the deal.
yeah. So I mean, it's like you as an under 19, your goal is to first of all, help Canada qualify for World Cup. A lot of Canadian under 19 teams have qualified for World Cups, um, and then you hope to perform at that stage. You hope, like in my time and even before and a little bit after, we went to the West Indies and played in the West Indies regional tournaments and had a lot of exposure to sort of top level cricket and competition, um, where, like, your performances there carried a lot of weight. Your performances in a World Cup would carry a lot of weight. Um, so yeah, I don't necessarily, and again, this is just my opinion. I'm a pigeon, so no one really cares. But my opinion is that there's some questionable selections there in terms of a lot of young guys getting selected, and there's a few guys who I don't know, so I can't comment. I can't comment about them, but yeah, just sort of preliminary. What were your thoughts?
No, I understand the youth movement, but I feel like there is still a pecking order, or there's still an order that has to be followed. Although you want to go young, you want to go, there's still a certain standard. Like bringing up one of my guys, Nick Manohar, like scored 100 in the hardest. I would say the hardest league in Canada, Super Nine. Like in terms of structure, development, out talent playing in there. In terms of like facility wise, it's average, but in terms of actual raw talent, yeah, Super Nine is top in Canada, and I feel like it starts from there. Like you must be selecting from that, right? You know?
Well, that's the big question here, right? Is that, and I know, like, a lot of players, I mean, all players were told, like, you want to get selected in the national squad, you need to perform in the top domestic competition, which is the Super Nine. So that's like, that was mandated and that was made very clear to everybody. And so, you feel bad for guys like, Parveen Dul, who topped the points in terms of bowling and batting.
Hmm.
You feel bad for guys who, you know, I guess continue to do it year in and year out. And do I think they should be in the playing 11? No. Do I think they should be in the 13 or 14 man squad? Maybe, maybe not. But certainly, if you're going to send like 20 guys on a tour, there's something to be said about rewarding the guys who put in the hard yards. And when I'm talking hard yards, bro, you go and play fucking S9 cricket at King City,
Hmm.
and you perform there with the bat. You have these innings where, like Manohar, for example, he scored 100. He's 22 years old. He scored 100 in the S9 against Islanders. It was a pretty good team. You know what? Like, can he at least come and practice with the boys? Like,
Yeah.
can some of these guys at least come and practice with the team? Because I think that doing the hard yards in the S9, like, it's so easy for these other guys. And I know like the leagues in Alberta and BC, and maybe they can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like playing on AstroTurf, man. So they're
Mm.
smoking balls over cover, over point for six, and the balls are not kooks. Like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure based on what I know, that's kind of what's happening. And there used to be a lot of pride in the S9 and the TND and sort of their competition. And I'm obviously a controversial guy, but I just speak honestly. Like, is this, like, do we have our own selves? And I'm talking about Ontario. I'm talking about TND. Do we have ourselves to blame? Do we put the most effort and money into nice pitches and good cricketing facilities and giving our players the best opportunity to perform so that they could then make the Canadian team? Like, is there a pride from TND to go, hey, like, we're the best league here? Because
Yeah.
last few years, like, I'm hearing is MCL, BDCL,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
pitches are better, the grounds are better, better players are playing there, and the league and stuff is kind of getting diluted. Like, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's just I was gonna say you took the word out of my mouth. Just a matter of time before all the best players are no longer playing in one league because there is no standard. Like before it was T&D only. That was the only place you can get turf wickets, right?
Yeah.
Now Miss MCL has only turf wickets, so guess what? Everyone's going to transition there. Oh, Brampton grounds are amazing. Everyone's going to transfer there. So these teams that
And
people built 20, 30 years are now like gone, right?
and dude, on top of that, this year, like the last season that went by, it was like it had a lot more weight to it, right? New coach, right, coming in, like this is what it's going to be. The S9 needs to come back, and a lot of these players who were playing BDCL, the Navneet Dhaliwals, the Shubham Sharmas, these kind of guys,
Mm-hmm.
they all came and played T&D cricket
Mm-hmm.
because this was where they were told that this is where you're going to be selected from. So I just to go back to the selections, I totally disagree with selecting inexperienced youth. They can gain experience through so many different platforms. They could play so much more cricket and do so much more to warrant selection. If I was a young guy, I would want that, to earn my spot. And again, like just sort of hard luck to the guys who keep performing year in and year out. And crazy, like we have Zubin Surkari on today, who and he'll tell you more in his interview. It's an amazing interview, but like he runs the minor league, which is now sort of open to Canadians. And so you're looking at these guys, S9 last year, like, oh yeah, like had carried so much weight. Now they're going, I'm not getting selected based on what I
Mm-hmm.
did. Like, what more can I do to get into a squad? I might as well go and play minor league in the US
Make a
and
little
take some of
bread.
the opportunity, make a little bit of paper,
Yeah.
get some experience. Like, right,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to go and play, $3-4 for parking at King City. Like I'm just joking there, and like I still hope that King City will improve and the facilities will improve. Like it has to, they have to.
Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah, man. That's a great point. And you were mentioning something about maybe like a players' union. Like, what do you think about that? Like, is that an option?
Um, yeah, like players union to an extent, kind of like I guess like that. You mean for like the national team
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah. Just because.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should at this point, based on this, they should be there to kind of protect themselves, right? Like
Yeah.
you obviously, some guys, I don't know who like wasn't selected, who's like a surprise. I really didn't look at it that far. I think if you look at it, like there's a good 13, 14 guys who you expected that were going to be there, and,
Oh,
and
for
they're
sure.
going to
Yeah.
be
The,
the
the
guys.
given names have to
Yeah,
be there.
like they're going to be the guys who eventually get there, and like I'm not hating at all. Like you take
For
these
sure.
young kids from here, there, and everywhere, and you expose them to tours and all that. Like all I'm saying is that you think that Parveen Dul and Shubham Sharma and Hiral Patel and Jade Padmore and Kamaleen, guys who are dominating at the S9, you think they wouldn't want to go on a nice little tour in the middle of fucking winter?
Yeah.
You don't think that you should reward them with some sort of respect in terms of saying that you're going to pick based on that? You don't think that you should have maybe rewarded them for their performances? You don't think that you could have brought them in along on the fitness journey that you're doing and all your nice resources that you have with regards to training, etc. So, because a lot of the players are no longer from Ontario, you might as well have these guys, involved and just respected for what they did. So anyway, last little thing I wanted to point out about that is interesting because the whole, you know, like we want to support and promote our homegrown guys, our Canadian guys who play in Canada and play in the S9 and so on. There are guys who qualify to play for Canada outside the country. Like, obviously Matthew Spurs is no longer there. But you're talking about youth and building up the next sort of phase of ODIs, which you have a shitload of ODIs coming up, almost 36 ODIs with tours all over. Like Kirsten Kalicharan is Canadian.
Oh, big name. Yeah. I played cricket with him actually.
Um,
Yeah.
Abhijay Mansingh is Canadian, and Abhijay Mansingh plays for Jamaica. He had an amazing Super 50 season playing for Jamaica with ball and bat. And Kalicharan is a gun young player who plays in Trinidad, plays for Trinidad, right? Like he's in and around the squad there,
He was
and
contracted. He was contracted a couple years. And then yeah, he's just just a top cricketer.
so that's my point, right? Is like, okay, I agreed. Yeah, these guys, they don't play here. We're gonna pick our own guys. We have enough guys. Let's reward the guys who are doing well at the top level. But then you just like then you go and totally ignore those guys. So that's the only thing I'm sticking up for what I think would be the right way to go. On the other hand, like shout out to these guys who got selected. I know Yuvraj Samra is a really good, like talented young guy. I think he's only 16, 17, looks about 28, but I think he's only 16 or 17, and he's a serious talent. He played in the game that I captained. We played against this Sri Lanka team for this charity thing, like Chaminda Vas, and these guys were all playing at the club, and he came in and won us the game, hitting 5 6s there at the end, and so there's no doubt he's talented.
Mm,
I just think he needs a little bit more. You need to do a little bit more.
true, true. Speaking of selection, the opposite, I guess, selection is retiring. So big news, big cricketer down and out for the for my Aussies.
Oh, David Warner.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he had a
We,
great career. He's one of those guys who speaks up and is, you know, always sort of outgoing and outspoken, whatever. And
did you
with
get to
that,
interact with him that one year when they came up for GT20?
no,
No, they
no.
were to
But
themselves.
one of my best friends is basically like one of his best friends.
Oh,
Yeah, Anthony Pratt. They played for the same club in New South Wales for a long time, and Pratty's actually there right now, so he's actually
mm,
going to see Davey anytime now. So
cool, cool.
I kind of know his story, David Warner's story, um, and yeah, he was loose, man. He was really really loose, and the way that he got into the team, and that story, I'm sure people know, but the way he got in, and made it count and never looked back and played all formats was just incredible. He's one of those guys that has a lot of haters, but he can laugh at them because he's done so much in terms of performing, and I guess when you perform with the bat and you perform in terms of your sport, then you could say whatever you want.
Facts. That's a big fact. That's a big fact. Just before we transition to Coach's Corner, that India South Africa test, did you see the pitch when it got ruled?
Yeah, that like whatever, like how much money they lost. You
Yeah.
know how much money they lost. Like Super Sport, I think, yeah, Super Sport, it does the footage, like the media rights or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Not the media rights, but the broadcasting. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also have like their own ground and like some like three. How many days did they basically play two test matches in 5 days?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
basically what happened.
They lost out of
So
a whole test match of revenue.
yeah, I like what Rohit Sharma said about the pitches. Like, stop complaining about pitches. If this is what you're gonna do, like we don't complain, we play.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But yeah, that's a sort of kick in the ass for Test cricket, man, because I had that on my list of like,
Games to watch.
watching, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's game to.
So it was a little bit disappointing in that regard, but it was good cricket when it was on. It was
Yeah.
definitely test cricket. There was a lot of testing going on, a lot of pace, right? A lot of pace, a lot of seam movement, a lot
Yeah.
of bounce. Um, I still think India is missing Pujara there in their test lineup.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, you move on, and I think it's obviously all about T20s now, man. It's not
Yeah.
even it's not even an argument sake anymore. It's just kind of
Where the
everything
game's
relies
gone.
on that and those franchise leagues um, and T20 in general. It's what sells the tickets, man.
Okay, Shady, before we get into our guests, let's just go over some stuff with Coach's Corner with this week's segment. And just for our listeners, a little joke, like before we decided to get on this episode, I was on my way to the gym and Shady was like excited. He's like, "Oh, nice, great job, bro." Like I felt energy in his voice. And then I told him I'm going for the executive workout. So pretty much the executive workout is a sauna, steam room, hot tub, cold shower. Rinse and repeat. Do like three, four times. So
That's how you get abs, right?
that's it. not abs, but that's how you don't get too big as well, We're about the balance.
Just sweat it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
guess. Yeah, I guess I'd call that the executive. Yeah, it's a good one. Get executive workout.
Yeah, that's
A
the
little
executive
steam, a
workout.
little sauna. You think you're sweating out all that excess weight and fat, but you're just sweating out water weight. Although your skin is glowing right now, duty. So you must have been sitting in there for quite a few weeks.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Appreciate it.
so
Appreciate it.
that must be your resolution then, bro.
New Year's resolutions. Me, I'm not too big on resolutions. I kind of just, I do like anything in 30-month segments. Like I'll quit alcohol for like a 30-month segment, and
30 month.
a 30-day segment. Sorry, a 1 month, 30 days. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 30 months. That's crazy.
You get bored easy and then you're on to the next thing.
Yeah,
30
just a,
30
just a
days later.
challenge. Yeah, challenge myself something for 30 days. So
Hmm.
it's a cool little
Yeah,
thing to.
I always use sort of December to kind of let myself go. I drink, I eat. I really enjoy. I don't train. I just relax. But I've managed to put on about 10 to 12 pounds, and I'm in like really, really bad shape. So, um, but I always start back in January. So I'm super sore right now. You know, when you start back and like
Oh
it's just
yeah.
like getting through the soreness. So like, and then you're tired. You're way more hungry. So it's hard to manage calories,
Mm.
right? Like whatever diet, I'm not going to go into it too much, but whatever diet you think you're on, if you want to lose weight, it's all about being in a calorie deficit. And if you
Explain
think
that.
you
Yeah,
are
go that
and
into
you're not,
more details. Calorie deficit versus diet. So like
so
people could really understand those two. Because
all right, I'll keep it simple. Like,
yeah.
okay, so like let's say you're on one of those like meat eating diets, whatever it's called, whatever it's called. So you're eating more meat, you're eating more protein, right? That's filling you up more, so you're going to eat less. So calorie deficit. That's why it works as a diet, right?
Hmm.
Plant-based, right? So plant-based, yep, I'm on a plant-based diet, so that means I'm eating more nutrient-dense foods that are going to keep me fuller. They've got a lot more nutritional value, great. So I'm not going to eat anymore. So because I'm full, calorie deficit.
Hmm.
Make sense?
Hmm.
Any diet that you have or that you use is just another way of you making that attempt. And it has to be, it's not even an attempt. If you want to lose weight or yeah, if you want to lose weight or burn fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So I'm not here to go into any more detail than that. You can research that, and if you're not sort of counting and calculating your calories, if you're kind of confused, you will be shocked, absolutely shocked to know how many calories are in certain things, how many calories that you're putting into your body thinking that, oh, I'm eating a lot better, I'm eating a lot less. Like, dude, you don't have a clue.
You know
So
what a shocker
research
was for
that.
me?
Yeah.
Um, I started this calorie deficit like years back, but um, I was having pizza, and I was like gluten-free crust, this, that,
Oh,
and then I looked at the garlic dipping sauce. Oh my God. There
yep.
was about 80 calories in that one little dip. And I think that was
Yep.
half a serving. And that those
Yep.
dips are two servings. So that's a
Dude.
hundred.
So that's the
Rid-
biggest thing is per serving when you see it on a box of something or whatever, and you see per serving or per this much, per that much, people just go, oh, that many calories? Oh, perfect. Dude, that's for like a little handful of like
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
handful is that's what so it's crazy, right? And like,
yeah.
okay, oh, what about fasting? What about intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting. Bro, intermittent fasting is just a way to cut the time in the day that you're able to eat so that you calorie deficit.
Yeah,
So diets are not diets. It's just a way, some sort of way, good way to make money, but it's just a way of you being in a calorie deficit. So
yeah.
try and make sure that you get at least, yeah, I don't know, 120, 150 grams of protein every day. And within that goal, try to be in a calorie deficit. Good luck.
Yeah.
What else? What's next? What's next?
The new assistant coach of TCC.
Oh, that's me. Um, I just signed as an assistant coach with Toronto Cricket Club. Shout out to the director of cricket there, Prashant Mandraker. Brought me in to sort of maybe get the club back on a little bit more of a higher performance level. So I'm gonna do my best to do that. The club also put in a $250,000 new square. So there's brand new 10 wickets at the Toronto Cricket Club, which will be ready to go in mid-June, early to mid-June. New square, unbelievable ground. It's the same guy who does the wicket for the new Dallas stadium. He's an Aussie guy. I didn't stutter. $250,000 went into that, and there's also hybrid practice wickets now as well being put in at the Toronto Cricket Club. So I'm sure that that's a little bit enticing. If you ever were thinking about joining the Toronto Cricket Club, now's a great time. Um, if you're interested in that, like reach out to whoever or myself, whatever. But yeah, that's what's going on there. So it's new square, new hybrid wicket, and a little bit of me.
Nice, nice. Well, congrats, congrats.
Thank you, bro.
Um,
It's
couple.
not cheap. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. But the younger you are, the cheaper it is. So like we always look to recruit, or not recruit, but we always look to welcome good young cricketers who take their cricket serious. If you're coming there to, I want to play S9, I want to play. It's like, buddy, join and
Yeah,
perform. And I'm sure that wherever you want to play, you'll play. If you're that good, you're gonna
yeah,
play.
yeah, yeah. Um, some exciting news about U.S. franchise cricket.
Oh, so we'll leave it for next time. Actually, we'll leave it for next time.
Okay,
I wanted to announce something cool, but I can't yet. So we'll
okay.
leave it for next time. Yep.
Apart from that, I'm good, Shades. Ready to jump into this interview?
Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't talk too much about this interview because I want it to totally sort of run itself. So um, all the questions about minor league and major league and what's happening in US and the opportunities there and all that stuff. Like this is a very informative interview with Zubin Surkari. Like it's definitely not where he started playing cricket and so on. No, he's got a major role in Major League Cricket, and it was awesome for him to come on and sort of share what's happening with that and what sort of opportunities there are for Canadians going forward.
Yeah, enjoy, listeners.
Cool. Peace. All right. Just wanted to welcome on a very special guest, Mr. Zubin Surkari, former Canadian international player. Doesn't seem to be getting any older. He's got a full head of hair, just as he did when he was young. So really happy to have you on, Beast, and good to see you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, thanks, Shades. Good to be here and chat with you guys. Happy New Year to you as well. All the best on the new podcast.
Thanks. We've been trying to make it work.
Yeah.
we do our best. You know how things are. It's tough. But we don't have you on like today to sort of ask you about your cricketing career and stuff like that. I think everybody knows very well what that looked like, being a staple part of the Canadian team and obviously your story and your journey. We kind of want to get right away into you now as, I guess I can't call you an American, you're still Canadian, but you are now
I don't know,
living
I
in
just
the
got off
States.
I got off the call with my accountant. I think I'm an American now.
Oh, there you go.
As far as my tax
There you go.
structure
Thanks.
is, I'm American apparently. So.
Thanks for rubbing it in. Thanks for rubbing it in. But good for you and congratulations. And like, let's just start right off, dude, with like, what exactly is your role in the U.S.? What are you doing there?
Yeah, so I joined, I guess Major League Cricket, which is under the ACE banner, which is American Cricket Enterprise, and they kind of have the commercial rights to basically commercialize T20 cricket in the U.S. And you've seen kind of Major League Cricket. The goal, of course, is for the Major League Cricket is to have a feed system, kind of a domestic development system that feeds into the to the Major League, and that's the minor league. So I was tasked. I kind of got the job of looking after the structure and kind of the commissioner and the rules and enforcing the rules and regulations around minor league cricket. And for those who don't know, the minor league cricket is a 27 this year, or in the 2023 season was a 27 team national tournament across the U.S. Runs for about 8 weeks, all T20s. 95% of the matches or 98% of the matches played on turf or hybrid, which is a huge step for us. So, anyways, I'm basically tasked with developing that side of it. There's other elements to it in terms of operational support and logistical support for the major leagues itself. We're not a huge team. We're kind of three operation guys and a few commercial people team kind of running the entire show. So it's a lot of us. It seems a little glamorous at times, you would think, but days before the major league, we're drilling and we're putting up scaffolding. We're duct taping, this and that. So it's very hands on, assembling nets, portable cricket nets, driving nets from Houston to Dallas. So
All hands
yeah,
on
it
deck.
encompasses a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, many hats, many hats.
Yeah, no, very interesting, buddy. I wanted to ask, like, and just after you said that, I'm sure, like, most of our listeners, guys in Canada, are just racing to the border. Like, please just let me come to this country, America, and let me play my cricket here. And that just leads me to the next question. Like, what is well, let me ask you this. What exact opportunities exist for a Canadian within the minor league system?
Well, I mean, last year we'd implemented so that if you go by the 2022 season, Canadians were foreign players. They were kind of deemed under the regulations as foreign players. This year, 2023, we allowed some Canadian players under a certain kind of jurisdiction. We have teams that are outside a draft zone. So some of the smaller teams that don't have a massive pool of players, we allow them to have a few more. There's some rules around if you have a senior, what's called a senior player. That doesn't mean you're a senior. Doesn't mean you're not a junior, meaning under 19 or anything like that. You're just a senior player. So that would be kind of the Navneets and the guys who are more established in the Canadian setup. And then there would be kind of like what's a junior category. And that we consulted with Cricket Canada and Pubadu on a kind of a list that they had, but we allowed it to be open. So if there was players that were playing in Canada, that they would be allowed to play in the U.S. if they had relationships. There's a lot of guys that come down and play anyway.
Yeah.
Rizwan Chima, for example, wasn't in the kind of that list, but he still played. So we allowed that to happen. So that element is there. There is some discussion around a minor league of sorts in Canada. Whether or not that's going to materialize is yet to be determined. But
Now they're driving back.
Well, I think it's not so much driving back as more the logistical challenges of a cross-border league. The minor league is semi-professional. The budgets aren't massive. I mean, if you talk about we're thinking 120 to about $200,000 in expenses USD. And that's within the U.S. So if you're thinking about a Canadian team traveling over the border, visa issues, et cetera, taxes, all those kind of things start coming into play. It poses some challenges for this year, I would think. And Canada's in the World Cup, USA's in the World Cup. There's a lot that's all going to kind of condense thing. There's a major league season, so those type of challenges are going to make it. It's not just like, hey, let's just start a few teams. You got to get owners. You got to run a draft. You're going to have to put playing conditions in. You got to put player regulations. You have to figure out where they're going to play. Broadcasting, umpires, commentators, like all those things, cricket balls, all those things that go into kind of running a league. It poses some challenges. So I think there's going to be some version of it here in Canada. I'm in Canada at the moment. Whether it interacts or integrates with the U.S. version, I don't think it will this year. But I think it's an exciting proposition, and I've kind of tabled like how did that look? Maybe there's a division that's played entirely in Canada, and then maybe during the playoffs they come down, or that's like a one time a year long weekend. Everybody comes down. It's a lot of it's just kind of costs and all those factors, in running a league that's kind of extended. It's not a weekend long league or a 7, 8, 10-day league. It's an 8-week to 9-week league. So scheduling is a huge thing.
Well, I think it's been great. Like I watch the minor league games on the broadcast, like the MLC network. I think it's the broadcasting is amazing. I think it's only getting better, and hopefully like the synergies between USA and Canada will only improve, especially I think after the World Cup, and I guess New York is going to be building or establishing an amazing little stadium. The Dallas Stadium, which I think you can talk a little bit more about because you were really involved with that. Yeah, like talk to us about that Grand Prairie Stadium and sort of the experience of seeing it from a minor league
Yeah.
baseball stadium
Um,
to a cricket stadium.
yeah. I mean, it's a cricket field now. I mean, and it's amazing what has transpired over the kind of the year and the bit to go into the construction and the development of it. I think people think you just like, all right, just knock a few things down, put a cricket field, and on you go. There are challenges with having an existing field, and like everything else, permitting and all those things that come around it are challenges. Just what was done. That stadium's 20 years old, or 20.
Wow.
I think it's 20 plus years old. That main part. So that comes with its own challenges in terms of infrastructure, electric, holes in the roof, all that kind of stuff. So it's not like, all right, you just inherit it and it's you turn the switch on and it goes. There's a lot of challenges around just getting permitting to retrofit all the electrical and those type of things to just get the lights on. And of course the dimensions. I mean, a baseball field is a certain dimension. The cricket field is a certain dimension. So we've taken, we basically have just kind of the outside, which is where the suites are and the entrance. But after that, it's almost entirely new. All that the main mezzanine area and the concourse where the large seating portion is, that's all entirely new. All around the bowl is basically new. So it's quite a lot has happened, and in a short period of time. It's just construction in anywhere in the country in Canada where it's always weather related. There's a storm, everyone's off work. It gets too hot, those type of things. So you think you have a lot of time. When I moved to Dallas, which was in May of 2023, the outfield hadn't been put out there yet. They still couldn't. There's still issues with getting sand. None of the seats had gone in.
Wow.
And literally, not literally, it was until the actual day of the first major league game, the Thursday. We had construction going on up until we had kind of a stop that day. So it's pretty,
Wow.
that's just the nature of stuff. Like there's people lining up to get tickets, and we still had people we're still drilling things in and getting this to final. But that all adds to the to the excitement around the game and to kind of finally sit back and take a big breath. I know there's not me so much, but the guys who've been around Major League Cricket for a while and from the infancy stage, the stories that they tell around what's things that have happened to get to that point of Major League Cricket, and I knew it would be successful because the team that we have is pretty amazing. The people that I'm lucky to work with, but even I was kind of awestruck at one point. I think I told the story, but the drone show on the last day. The drone show was actually supposed to take place the first game, and drone show and everything being what it is at the halftime, we couldn't get I think there's some electrical issue that they had, so we binned it, which was kind of a letdown. But then we did it at the last game, and it's kind of, your hair stands on your neck of what the feeling was.
Yeah.
To kind of see there was. We were selling standing room seats, and it was packed, and people had their lights, they had their cameras up. It was really well.
That was sick.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Not to mention the Nicholas Pooran special in the final. Were you there to watch that live?
I was right there. That was special. That's special.
Yeah.
It's it was something else. Something else. I mean, there's some pretty good. I think Heinrich Klassen's 100 was pretty special as well at Morrisville.
Yep.
But I think he scored 140 something and 50 something balls or something crazy.
Unbelievable.
So.
Yeah, that was insane. I think
it
that
was a good
launched
pitch.
Major League for sure.
Yeah.
And the wicket
it
was unbelievable. Like.
Yeah. Shout out to Davey Agnew.
Dave Agnew. That's the guy's name.
I mean, one of the best, if not the best around. So.
Unreal. Zubs, I don't know if you pay much attention with Cricket Canada and so on. I know you're a cricket lover, so you definitely probably do. and I'm not going to bring you into that politics, but given the latest selection, which is, I suppose, leaning more towards youth and youth development, what do you say to the guys in their sort of late 20s, early 30s who, been putting in the yards at the S9 level and sort of going through the ringer as we did when we played, and what that's like, playing at King City and performing there and so on. You know, you kind of already explained the pathway that is there with regards to minor league, but what do you say to those kind of guys who are feeling a little bit let down?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you even go further back, like we didn't have T20 cricket and the opportunities to even make money. There was never a career. I mean, you're probably similar, obviously a little younger than me, but or even Ash, for an example, the guys who stopped playing cricket in their early 30s, simply because you had to start a career and you had to do something else. There wasn't even a sniff of an opportunity to even make a living out of playing cricket. So the good thing is that cricketers now there's a lot of cricket that's being played. It's pretty organized. The money that's going around is pretty decent, even in these small tournaments and things like that. Whether or not it's a full-time gig, I think that's yet to be determined in terms of certain players. But we've contracted in the U.S. There's contracted players. There's fully contracted players. I've heard Canada is starting to do that, which is an exciting opportunity. 30 is not old. 32 is not old. Definitely not old, especially with the fitness standards and things like that. I showed, there's players that are playing into their mid to late 30s pretty well if you stay fit, and that's what guys are doing because that's just the way it is. So yeah, I mean, I would just say, look, if it still have that burning passion to play, which is the kind of the main factor in playing a sport at a high level, then why not? Just stick with it. It's hard to turn back time. That's just the way it is. I mean, I always think when we were playing, they were kind of the pioneers. I wanted to leave the game in a better position and better opportunities for young players. And there's kids that are now kind of performing out of the under-19s, at least getting, there's like, okay, there's a tournament that's there, or there's an opportunity for them to be seen. And you're kind of like two or three innings, 2 or 3 performances away from getting a sniff at the highest level. And that used to be kind of international cricket only, but now it's kind of, because of the amount of T20 competitions there are around, there's guys making money full time. So, there's plenty of examples out there that have done well in the kind of a minor tournament, GT20, MLC, CPL, and then next thing you know, they're playing IPL or some of the other tournaments. So, yeah, not to kind of just keep going on it, but it's tough getting older and kind of putting it away. But hey, look, it's better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And 30, 32 is not the end of your career by any means.
Yeah, no, well said. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the standard of cricket in the U.S.? I'm not going to say like versus Canada. Just what are your thoughts on the standard of cricket in the U.S.? I know, like, I'm obviously involved in the U.S. based franchise tournaments, but I wanted to know your opinion on sort of the standard there because you've kind of seen it over the last at least year or two.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's definitely been an injection of players, and there's no denying the players that have come kind of through our avenue, and the ones that we've brought over and kind of or assisted in coming over. There's some good players. You cannot replicate first class cricket in a country that just doesn't have that system. So that injection of players has been really good. It is obviously a little bit scattered in terms of the minor league. It's scattered over a longer a larger pool of 26 teams. It's probably a lot, but it's good cricket, and it's getting better year on year. I think players are getting better. The domestic players are getting better. There's similar to Canada. There's talent. There's lots of these academies and lots of these players, but as you very well know, you're only as good as kind of who you play against. And that's kind of the challenge is how every game should be difficult and every game should be challenging. I think, you should be able to determine how good your cricket domestic infrastructure is by how good your under-19s are and how challenging your under-19s are. So right now in the U.S., out of the under-19s that got picked, there's maybe, a few that are doing something in the minor league, which is kind of where maybe the benchmark is, and that's where everybody's seeing they might be doing okay in their local leagues, but minor league is probably where the benchmark is for T20, and there's not a lot. Whereas if I use this example, if you're an under 19 Indian player, under 9 Pakistan player, you're definitely dominating your local level.
Yeah.
Maybe not Ranji Trophy, but you're dominating your club
level. Yeah.
So that's and then similar with Canada. If you have an under 19 Canadian team, how many of those players in those 90 teams go and play Super 9 and are like, well, we got to worry about this guy, and there's not a lot. So once that mindset comes in, I think that's when we'll be doing the right things, and that's when players will be on par with or similarly in terms of training abilities and skill levels and talent to what other countries are. Because I think we have it. It's just there's it's hard to replicate tough cricket and to play a good brand of tough. Having an environment,
especially consistently.
And Shady and I were kind of fortunate. I always say we're very fortunate. We played for the club, and we had some good kind of role models and mentors there that really kind of drove that. And then our domestic competition in the club system was quite tough. Centurions, Victoria Park, those type of teams, Cavaliers, and all that. So. Vikings. So all those things are factors, but in the U.S. it'll get there. It's just kind of that development plan and that infrastructure needs to be, ironed out. What that looks like. What a full schedule. What does it look from January to December? What is a full schedule? What are the tournaments? What are the age group categories? Where are they going to play? All those type of things. What surfaces are going to play? So these things factor in.
I also know that in the U.S., they have a lot of under 21, under 19, under 17, under 15 sort of tournaments, state on state sort of tournaments. I know some of the guys who train with me, they go to the U.S. and play in these tournaments, and that sort of exposure is so key. And just to put some interesting things into context from what you said was the U.S. under 19, sort of the top guys are sort of maybe they're maybe there in the sort of minor league system, whereas here in Canada, we have our sort of under 19 guys who are in the national team.
Yeah.
So and U.S. did beat Canada in the under 19 World Cup, and they're playing an under 19 World Cup right now, so getting more and more exposure. What do you think about that? Do you think it's kind of really early to sort of inject, under 19 kids into a national system, or do you think now it's important to get them exposed to touring and hope that they might pan out later on?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, look, I would say you don't need to blood in players if you have a strong domestic setup, and the players that are getting picked, there's either some serious talent and they're actually doing relatively well. The Nitishas of the world, Bavindus come to mind. Those are guys that they perform well. Yeah. Same thing when they walk into the when they walk into the field. You're like, okay, this guy can score runs and win the game for them. That mindset has to be there. I think that Yuvraj Samra guy, I saw him play in the minor league, and I was like, oh, this kid looks like he's got a bit of something. So I think obviously that's been identified. Pubudu's identified. I'm a strong believer in Pubudu and kind of in his mindset. You have to blood in players. That's just the nature of it. Whether you blood them in a Canadian outfit is, there's some debate around that. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think they're doing this tour now to Sri Lanka, and I think Nepal. They have a pretty good schedule of matches, so they've taken a larger pool of players. If that means that the kids just play some practice games, are around the team, practice, and maybe they get a shot. I don't think that's a bad thing. There is structure and there must be some planning around that. So I'm confident that Pubudu and the group of guys there that are doing it are kind of looking. I mean, you have to, succession planning for any company or any team. You have to do it. If you think you're going to be, Canada probably has an issue with fast bowling and things like that. That's going to be their next step as the Jeremies and Dylans kind of get out of it, Kaleems and all that. As they age, you need a crop of young players that are coming through, and they're not going to just go from club cricket right to national cricket. So there's got to be some kind of bridge that allows that, whether it's training and opportunities overseas and all that kind of stuff. So I'm okay with that. I think that's young players have to get looked at, but they have to earn it to some extent.
I think that really like not woke me up, but that kind of was like an aha moment for me because when I compare our time, like we had those role models. We were in a very competitive environment at club level. We also got to play in a lot of the sort of West Indies regional tournaments as under 19s, as I talked about earlier. But if you kind of look at it, like this is maybe a wise move to take these younger guys to a touring situation because unfortunately, I don't know if the facilities in Canada, the competition, the standard, um, maybe even some of the coaching to some degree, the fitness levels. I just don't think that they're there anymore to have any sort of competition to challenge these younger guys. So like I think it makes a lot of sense now that I think about it to take these guys there because
Totally.
they're really not going to get that exposure anywhere else. And I kind of like the sink or swim mentality that Pubudu has always had. He kind of threw me in there as well at that time. I wasn't able to swim at that time. I guess I was just immature in some regards. So yeah, I hope it works out for those guys, and that's really well said, man. Last one, man, if I can keep you on for a bit. I just wanted to ask about the hybrid wickets. Like you mentioned, hybrid wickets. I think a lot of our listeners are like, what's he talking about when it comes to hybrid wickets? I know at the Toronto Cricket Club we have some coming in as practice wickets, and you've seen how they've responded in different sort of climates of the United States. But talk to us about hybrid wickets, like as if we don't know, because I
Yeah.
actually don't.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, the challenges with cricket, of course, is getting turf, and one of it's the expense of actually installing turf wickets, but then even furthermore is the knowledge base and the actual equipment to sustain that over the course, and even more so if you want to add even another hurdle to it is the weather in Canada and things that is not necessarily conducive for growing grass in a consistent way, although it can be done. It's just challenging. So what the hybrid wicket is essentially a concrete base that's recessed into the ground. They have a synthetic carpet with kind of like a synthetic grass blade that gets put up, and then you basically just fill it with a clay, and you kind of put 3 or 4 inches of the clay, so it goes from the base of the concrete up to kind of ground level, pitch
Surface
level,
area.
surface
Yep.
level, and all that's all filled with clay. You water it like any other wicket, and you roll it. But you obviously don't have to worry about growing grass. You can play on one pitch. There is deterioration. You can use spikes. There is maintenance that needs to be done, which is fine, but it's probably at a 70% less per week.
Mm.
Where you're rolling for 10 hours or 10, 12 hours of maintenance on the ground. This is 1 or 2 hours a week, right? So and as the kind of the clay gets deteriorated and things like that, which is you're going to have because you're running on it, bowlers are running on it. You just fill it back up and kind of water it down, roll it again, and you're good to go. You also don't need a massive heavy roller. You can get away with kind of like a half ton or a 1 ton. So the expenses and all that are limited. And I'll be honest, I was skeptical at first, but then I saw them play in Chicago. We installed one in Chicago. It's a bit of a challenge to install them, or it takes a little bit of labor. But they go in. If you have the concrete in, you put it in, you install it over a weekend. You can play cricket on it next weekend. So
Wow.
yeah, it's if you want to take a look at the games that were played in St. Louis. So if you go on our MLC network and see the games that are played in St. Louis and in Chicago, those are all on hybrids, and from all accounts they play pretty good. I mean, I think what cricketers want, they just want consistency and and balance and things of that, and they're like that. I've heard they're a little too flat. If you talk to spinners, they don't spin as much
Yeah,
as they'd
so
like. But
that's what I
but
heard.
yeah, so there's a little bit of that, but I mean, I was watching a few of it. It's not terrible. There is a bit of debris that'll start kind of coming up, right? Because
Right.
it
So
is
it's got
clay,
a
so it's got it. So
very
I think
natural element to it.
yeah, but I think it eliminates that kind of tennis ball-y bounce from a synthetic wicket. You bat with spikes, you bowl with spikes. So, mentally you think you're just you feel like you're playing, and the scores have been quite good. I mean, the Michigan team, which had a lot of the Canadian guys, Nicholas Curtin on it, he played on it, so it'd be worthwhile asking. But I think it's it's very cost effective. You don't need a massive amount of equipment
And the
to
better you take
sustain.
care of it, the better it's going to be, obviously.
Yeah,
Like
and
anything.
that's what turf is, right? Like
Yeah.
if you need turf, it's only as good as how many. But the only difference is it's difficult to get 3 and 5 and 10 wickets installed. You know how much that costs, and then the ongoing maintenance
Right.
plus the actual knowledge of a ground staff is let's be honest, it's not
Any
conducive.
any chats with a certain ground in the Greater Toronto area to have these come in and maybe take a little bit of the labor off of having 5 grounds in one ground?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's an option necessarily for King City. I think King City kind of, I think they have load management problem there, in terms of how much cricket gets
Yeah.
played on and things like that. I think
Yeah.
I don't think, I personally think turf is a luxury item, and only the best cricketers should be playing on it,
In this
for the
country,
most
yeah.
part,
Yeah.
or at least certain parts of the year, as long as it doesn't. I mean, anybody can play on it as long as it doesn't deteriorate and take away from good competition.
Yeah.
But I think like a Sunnybrook and Ross Lords and those type of things, this is a decent option. Niagara, anywhere in the northern USA, kind of those type of places where it's just the weather's just not conducive.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So I think it'll take some time for people to um, you know see them. They probably want to see them in play and things like that. And look, there is a lot of weekend warrior cricket, and they just want to show
Yeah.
up, knock some stumps in the ground, and play, which is what synthetic offers them. But this is, I think this is a kind of a good
Step up.
compromise you can see. So, yeah, they're
Good
quite good.
insights.
Cool. And the stadiums that were sort of announced to go up in the States, what's the news on them? How are they progressing?
Well, in terms of the Major League, so Major League, they've announced New York, obviously Dallas is getting 4 games, and Florida's getting 4 games, and obviously the New York venue, which is going to be the largest, 34,000, I think. That'll be in New York, Nassau County, but part of the MLC, larger plan is to now have stadiums in all the regions. I heard Washington is being fast tracked potentially, maybe this year, but certainly ongoing. And then LA, the Bay Area, Seattle, those are.
Yeah.
I think it's
Hot
just
spots.
identifying locations. It's just challenging to get, a cricket ground built in anywhere in a kind of metropolitan area,
Yeah.
which only services is at this point one sport. It's not a multi-purpose at this stage or things like
Right.
that. I mean, there's options to kind of convert it maybe into hosting some concerts and things like that, but it's it's challenging
tough
just
to-
getting kind of
Yeah.
and you don't want to put it out in an area where nobody can kind of go. There's balances, but look, it'll happen. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of
Hmm.
when.
Cool. And what are the dates for the Major League Cricket and then the Minor League Cricket, just so everyone knows?
Yeah, so I can give you the Major League. The Major League is July 4th, so that'll be kind of
American,
US
what is it? American Day?
Independence, yeah.
Independence Day. Sick
Independence
movie.
Great movie. And that'll run basically the entire duration of July. Minor League, given that it's such a long tournament, I've put out a survey amongst other things, to our ownership group and kind of get their feedback, because there are challenges with having it before and after, so kind of bookending the Major League. So you basically start in June, play all of June, break, have the Major League, and then pick up in August. Whether we're going to do that, there's challenges around that, because then that means if you have any foreign players, you have to keep them in the country for longer, and
World Cup.
expenses, this kind of stuff. World Cup. We are, and then we might go to a kind of an August, September, so similar to what we had last year, so right after Major League. But of course, the challenge is that we don't want to lose the kind of steam, and Major League's a big thing, and it kind of goes into the minor league. So ideally, we'd want to have it before, and we're I didn't think it might be possible, but it's potentially possible if we use the long weekend to kind of hammer out 4 or 5 games or 4 games, not 5, but 4 games over a long weekend for each team. That'll kind of help us condense it a little. So we'll have kind of everybody come into a hub and play. So Atlanta, definitely Texas, so Houston, and then maybe LA, something like that. So that those regions would play.
Those are the hubs.
The hubs, and that
Those
can
are the
knock
hubs.
off, that can knock off 40% of the matches. We've probably a 10-game season this year, but that means we'll have to be playing during the World Cup. But scheduling is always, it's never perfect. It's
Biggest problem in cricket right now, scheduling.
Yeah, exactly. So,
There's only so many days.
We just need more cricketers being played, and then fill it up. So, yeah.
All right, man. I thank you so much for doing this, man. Duty, do you have any questions? I asked all the questions. Hey, you could have just been in the sauna doing
my
this.
exec workout.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. Anything else exciting, Zoobs?
Anything else exciting? No. I mean, look, this year is going to be a huge year for cricket in Canada and USA. I think for me, it's great. It's exciting. I'm really pleased that Canada made it. I like the trajectory that they're going in. It's great to see US and what's happening down there and hosting the World Cup. I mean, that's huge. So this time next year, it's going to be pretty amazing to see where we're at and how things are progressing. So yeah, just kind of join the ride, get along for the ride.
Save a spot
For the
me in
opener,
suite.
Zoobs. Who do you got?
Yeah, you got a spot.
Yeah,
for
Canada or
the
US?
opener. Yeah.
Yeah, big opening. Canada, USA.
We're journalists now.
We got to get some
Yeah.
passes.
We're media. Duty and I are
I'll
media.
get you through the kitchen. I'll bring you
Couldn't
through
make
the
it as a cricketer. I got to come in there as media.
That's
No,
cool.
thanks, buddy. No, appreciate it, man. We'll chat soon. Thanks
Later,
for doing
guys.
this.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
See you, man.
All right.